What would you do if your partner suddenly revealed that they're actually not divorced and not without children? That's exactly what happened to our main character today. We've got a compelling story for you, so let's dive right in. This story comes from user Worried Soul 123. I, 27-year-old Lena, found out that my boyfriend, 33-year-old Jack, is not divorced or childless when I told him I was pregnant. I'm overwhelmed and typing this on my phone, so I apologize if it doesn't make perfect sense. My boyfriend of almost 2 years has been living a double life, and I'm utterly shocked at how he managed to hide it. When we met, he told me he was nearly done with a long, messy divorce, but I had moved on and that it wouldn't be an issue, and until now, he was right. It wasn't an issue. Last week, I took a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. Yesterday, I had a visit with my OBGYN to confirm it. I was thrilled. I've always dreamed of becoming a mom, and Jack seemed to share that dream. We talked about having kids in the future multiple times, even though we haven't been together that long. I couldn't wait to tell him the news when he came over for dinner. But his reaction was strange. His face turned pale, and he looked confused, not at all what I expected. He got up to use the bathroom, and when he returned, he was calm but serious. He told me that he was scared and didn't know how I and our baby would fit into his life. That's when he decided to come clean. It turns out he's nowhere near being divorced from his wife, who he's been married to for nearly 10 years. They also have 2 kids together, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. I'm still in shock that I didn't have any clue about this. He works long hours, often starting very early, which is why he rarely spent the night at my place. But despite that, we spent a lot of time together. I'm heartbroken and confused, and I have no idea what to do next. I'm pregnant with his 3rd child, and he's still married. After our conversation, he left, and I've been calling and texting him, but all he said is that he'll talk to me tomorrow night after work. His behavior is so cold and distant that I'm scared he's going to abandon me to deal with this pregnancy on my own. Another part of me doesn't even want him anymore. If he can lie this well, what else could he be hiding? I also don't want to break up his family. I feel disgusted by this whole situation. I've never felt so alone and lost. Should I leave him now? Or is there another way to handle this? First update. I think it's clear that I need to leave him, but that's the only thing that's clear right now. I want to be a mom, but these are the worst circumstances imaginable. I'm trying to figure out how to contact his wife, but I'm drawing a blank. I think I've been to their old house, but he said they've moved since then, so I have no idea where they live now. I can't piece this together at all. I don't understand how I was fooled for so long. I think I'm still in shock. To sum it up, I'm leaving him. I'm not sure yet if I'll go through with the pregnancy, and as much as I want to tell his wife, I have no way of doing that right now. I guess I'll wait until he talks to me tomorrow. Second update. I found his wife through a website someone shared with me. Jack wasn't lying when he said he had no social media, but she does. Seeing pictures of them together made me realize I can't keep our child. His family is beautiful, and it breaks my heart that he could do this to them. I can't have the father of my child be someone like him. I still don't know how to tell his wife, though. So that's where things stand with Lena. Now let's move on to her next update, where she shares more details. I wanted to get this update out as soon as possible because honestly I don't want to think about this any longer than I have to. I met with Jack this morning instead of waiting until after work because neither of us could wait to end this nightmare. I can't tell what's true and what isn't anymore. All I know is that my life has been turned upside down. I went from confirming my pregnancy to dealing with this disaster in no time at all. The last 24 hours have been the hardest of my life. Before I dive into the conversation I had with Jack, I want to clear up a few things people keep asking about. Yes, I've been to his house. We both work a lot, and I didn't mind not spending much time at his place. His story was that after his divorce, he kept the house and got some roommates. He was a bit sensitive about it, but we talked about it once, and he said it was awkward having roommates in his 30s. He was supposedly selling the house after his roommates moved out, so we stopped going there as much since it was partly packed up. That made sense to me, and since I live alone, I preferred having him at my place anyway, so no, I didn't spend 2 years not knowing where my boyfriend lived. I spent 1 year and 7 months spending more time at my place. The second point is how I got pregnant in the first place. We didn't plan for a baby. We didn't try for a baby. We just decided that if it happened, it happened. He had this whole live-in-the-moment mentality and talked about happy accidents, supposedly because of how his marriage ended. So I stopped using birth control, and he didn't always use protection. Accidental pregnancies happen all the time. The last point is about my decision to terminate the pregnancy. I don't care about anyone else's opinion on this. It's my life and my choice. For reasons that will become clearer when I talk about my conversation with Jack, this has been the most painful and confusing thing I've ever experienced. Yes, I'd love to be a mom, but I'm not in a rush. I know things don't always go as planned, but this is a terrible situation to bring a child into. I'm not putting my child through the emotional turmoil I'm currently experiencing. I can't have a healthy pregnancy with the mental state I'm in, and I'd rather put this behind me and wait to have a child with someone who truly loves me. It would be selfish to have the baby just because it's what I want. I have to think about what's best for my future child, and this isn't it. Since everything happened so quickly, it's only been a day since I found out. I'm going to take some more time to think about it, but I'm pretty sure about my decision. Now, on to what you came for. I talked to Jack, first over the phone and then in person outside a coffee shop. I took your advice not to meet with him alone. I don't know if anything he said is true, but I plan on never speaking to him again, so this is probably the closest I'll get to the truth. His demeanor was odd. He looked like he was about to cry, but his tone was cold and emotionless, like he was giving me a debriefing, not an apology. Here's his story. He and his wife got married 10 years ago when she got pregnant. She was 18, and her family is very religious, so they married while she was pregnant, but she lost the baby. Since then, he's felt trapped in the marriage, but couldn't leave because he described his wife as sweet, innocent, and fragile, with strong beliefs about marriage. After they had their 2 kids, she became very focused on them, and he started to drift away from the marriage. He claims that meeting me made him realize how dead his marriage was. Instead of leaving his wife, though, he decided to live a separate life with me. This is where his lies got complicated. He does have a job, but it turns out he works from home, so that's where he was when he said he was at the office. His work friends I met are more like business partners, and they don't see each other often, which is why he felt safe introducing them to me. They had no idea he was married. Looking back, I was naive not to think about meeting more of his friends, but neither of us is very social. While he was with me, he would tell his wife he was out with clients, running errands or on business trips. All things he did have to do for his job. The house I visited wasn't his, it was his brother's. His brother travels a lot for work, so Jack would stay there while house-sitting. The story about moving in with roommates after his divorce? That was actually his brother's story. His brother was selling his house after his roommates moved out, not Jack. So it turns out he does have family nearby. It's more complicated than I can explain here, but his web of lies is very detailed, very well thought out, and unfortunately for everyone but him, very well executed. Partly due to luck, I think. But I'm sure he's had practice living a double life. This could all be lies, but the strangest part to me is this. He claims that when we talked about stopping birth control and having kids, he had a different conversation in his head. He decided he was happier with me, and if I got pregnant, that would be when he'd leave his wife. But that doesn't make sense. Was he planning on leaving his kids too? Would he ever tell me? He said that when I told him I was pregnant, he felt unexpected panic and reconsidered his life, deciding he couldn't leave his family. I guess that explains why he looked so confused when I told him. He then decided the best thing to do was end things with me, ask me to terminate the pregnancy, and go back to his normal life. He still thinks I have no way of finding his wife and no way to contact her. Wrong. He doesn't need to worry about a 3rd kid, though. because I can't, in good conscience, let this man continue lying to his wife, who sounds completely in the dark. I took one of your suggestions and recorded our conversation. It's a poor quality recording, but there's enough there to keep as evidence. I'm going to gather all I have and think about how I can help his wife get out of this disaster of a marriage. Then I'll contact her. I feel like I have a responsibility to help, given my role in this situation, if she'll let me. I didn't tell Jack any of this. I just told him I wanted to never see him again and leave this behind, which is true, but I want his wife to have the same choice. Sorry for the long update, and thank you all for your support. I missed so many red flags about his friends, his family, his home, everything. But I was in love, and hindsight is always 20/20ths. So much of this still doesn't make sense and probably never will, and part of me thinks his explanations are lies and the truth is even worse, but I'll never know, so I can't dwell on that. I'm considering moving to get away from all of this. Again, thank you so much for your advice and support. My mind is still a mess, and it'll take a long time to heal, but you've helped me find the right path. Well, the good thing about these one-story videos is that we usually get a final update, and that's what we're going to look at now. First, I want to clarify that the pregnancy was not unexpected, but it wasn't fully planned either. Accidental wasn't the right word, but I do know how babies are made. In a way, I was trying to get pregnant, but only because Jack lied to me and made me think he was on board. I'm not going to go into detail about how I was deceived. I missed some red flags, but I thought I was planning to bring a child into a healthy, safe, and loving environment. That environment doesn't exist. I'm not ready to be a mother in these circumstances. I'm not mentally or emotionally fit to carry out a pregnancy right now, and I'm definitely not putting a child through the adoption system. It's just not a guaranteed good life, and I can't, in good conscience, do that. For these reasons, and others I've already mentioned, I've started the process of terminating the pregnancy. I collected photos, videos, screenshots of texts, and anything I could find as evidence to show Jack's wife. I tried to find any texts where he mentioned being divorced or told other lies to prove I wasn't at fault. But I took your advice not to push her too hard, since I don't know how she'll take the news. I found her on social media, sent her all the pictures and screenshots, and a short explanation of what her husband's been doing for the past 2 years. It took her a day to respond, but all she said was, "Thank you." After that, I blocked her. I did it because I want to move on from this situation. I don't need to interfere in her and her family's life anymore. I haven't heard from anyone, and I hope I never have to think about this situation again. It's behind me. I don't know what happened with Jack and his wife, and I probably never will. Thank you all for your support. And that's the end of the story. While I would have liked to know if the wife did or said anything to Jack, it's actually a good thing that Lena blocked her and removed herself from the situation. I think that's the healthiest choice Lena could have made for her own well-being. But what do you think about the whole situation? How it was resolved? And the decisions that were made?